Today I'm talking to a DJ who needs no introduction. He is the UK's premier edit master. He is the kind of guy that has enough props and history to make Paul Oakenfold choke on his Crispies, and he is probably one of the most effective party-smashing selectors on the circuit today. He is, of course, Greg Wilson. I'm Christopher Tubbs, and this is Heads Down.
I started in '75, and for a start back then, I mean, I got £6 a night. I was quite happy. That was good money. That was all right. If you were like 15, which I was at the time. I think DJs then there was still some very good DJs about, but it wasn't the career choice at all. People used to, say, what you do, and you'd say I'm a DJ, and you'd say, oh yeah, what's your real job? And so it wasn't looked upon as something that you did unless you got on radio. The ambition for a lot of DJs at the time was to try to get on radio. The other one, of course, was that we weren't mixing in the UK. It was all microphone based, so that you'd announce the records and back announce them. And I suppose people think that sounds like very stifled, that you kind of stilted or whatever, that you kind of stopping and stopping and starting. But there was a kind of flow to it, because as one record was finishing, you'd be talking over that and starting the next record, and that'd be coming in underneath and everything. And it's just the way that it was back then. The equipment that we were using, like before I kind of went to Wigan Pier and Legend in the UK, was really basic. I mean, that what they gave DJs to work with, it was like an afterthought. Sound systems were really poor and everything. They'd invest more money in a nice looking bar than think of getting a good sound system or anything like that. So Wigan Pier and Legend was just a revelation, because it was all geared around like the sound system, the lighting, and it was just perfect for a DJ. Having this new music, the electro stuff that was coming out, having the environment that I was in and mixing, it just kind of completely and it just changed things. It was like everything else seemed old then at that point. All of a sudden, like, these clubs I was working on were like just packed, and that they were kind of leading the way with regards to what was going on, and nobody else was going for the electro. I kind of stole a march in that way. I think a lot of people just thought it was going to be a passing phase, it'd be gone.
Yeah.
And then, I'd look kind of a bit stupid for playing this stuff in the first place. I was trying to get into remixing. I knew all the people at the record companies in London, and I was now aware of a lot more of what was happening in New York, and a lot of the names like T. Scott, Larry Levan, Francois Kevorkian, Shep Pettibone, these people, and I was wanting to kind of emulate that from a UK side, and so I was saying to them, can I remix something, basically. And what was coming back to me was, British DJs don't mix. It's American DJs that mix. It's like almost, it was
that
like
age-old.
It was, and it sounds. That's what I mean. It sounds mad now, like, because of what happened later. But and that's the way it was. And as a result of that, and as a result of kind of hitting a brick wall so many times, I found myself getting together with some musicians and starting to get more into production and making my own music as opposed to remixing. And so another thing was that I wanted to kind of pursue that direction more. And again, of course DJs remix and produce, and they do everything together, so why I should stop to produce when I was a DJ. But it seemed like the right thing to do at the time, right through until when I came back to DJing again. I think that decision to stop at that point in time, the consequences, I was still kind of, I'm glad now with the fullness of time, because when I did come back into it, and the way that it's gone since, the fact that I did stop makes a big difference, because you know, it is that, you know, and I understand that there is a kind of fascination. Why would you stop and just stop for so long? And I didn't have any inclination to go back into DJing. I didn't, you know, I wasn't like wanting to come back to DJing. It just happened naturally and for the right reasons when it did, you know, and so it worked out. And then you can look back and say, but there was certainly many a time, you know, during that period where, you know, and people constantly reminded me, why did you stop? You know, I had friends who were doing well for themselves, and you know, why did you stop? What did you stop for? You're mad. You would look at how much, you know. You see people like kind of getting these like millionaire lifestyles together out of it, and you know, and they're kind of putting it to me in those terms. And I've never been like financially motivated. It was never about that.